The wind carried a gentle chill through the gates of Redwood High as the first bell rang. Students moved across the courtyard, voices buzzing with morning chatter. Among the crowd, a new girl stood out, not because of her clothes, but because of how still she was. While others hurried, she watched. Her silver eyes didn't blink much. Her long, dark braid barely moved with the breeze. Her name was Zara. Zara had transferred just 3 days ago. Nobody knew much about her. She came with no parents, only a quiet guardian who dropped her off in a black car and vanished before questions could begin. Teachers gave no background. The school counselor only said she had special circumstances. She walked the halls with calm steps, never smiling, never scared. She wasn't rude, but she didn't speak unless spoken to. Students whispered behind her back. Some called her a robot. Others guessed she was rich and strange. One boy swore. He saw her hand glow in the sunlight. Most ignored her. But a few didn't like her at all. In class, Zara always knew the answer. Her handwriting looked like printed letters. She finished math tests before others even read the instructions. In science, she corrected the teacher, politely yet clearly. This annoyed some students, especially the ones who liked being in control. Tom, the loudest boy in school, didn't like her confidence. He was used to attention. Zara didn't give him any. When she passed him in the cafeteria, he made loud jokes. When she ignored him, he pushed her tray off the table. Zara picked it up without emotion and sat down somewhere else. Later that day, a girl named Mia bumped into Zara at her locker. The collision was small, but Mia stepped back like she had hit a wall. She rubbed her shoulder and frowned. "You're stronger than you look," she said. Zara simply replied, "I know," and continued organizing her books. One boy noticed all of this quietly. His name was Leo. He wasn't popular. He read books during lunch and rarely spoke in class. But he noticed things. He saw how Zara moved, too smooth, too fast. He saw her lift her bag with one hand as if it weighed nothing. He also saw the way she looked at the sky during recess, as if she missed something far beyond the clouds. Leo didn't believe the rumors. He thought she was just different. One day, he sat beside her on the bench near the gym. "Do you like it here?" he asked. Zara looked at him. For the first time, her eyes softened. "I don't understand it yet," she said. "What?" "Leo asked. Earth," she said. Then she turned back to the sky. Leo blinked. "You mean the school?" Zara shook her head slowly. "No, I mean Earth." He laughed a little. "You talk weird." "I know," she said. The next morning, a bigger event happened. During gym, students were told to pair up for self-defense drills. Tom volunteered to be Zara's partner. He smiled like it was a joke. Coach nodded, unaware of the tension. They stood facing each other. Tom lunged without warning, expecting to startle her. But she moved to the side without effort. He tried again, this time faster. She blocked him easily, her fingers quick and controlled. On the third try, Tom pushed with both hands. Zara didn't move. Instead, a flash of light shimmered around her arms, only for a second. No one noticed except Leo. He gasped, but stayed quiet. Coach clapped. "Well done, both of you." Tom frowned, rubbing his elbow. "You've got tricks, don't you?" he muttered, as they walked back inside. Zara didn't answer. In the locker room, Tom spoke to Mia and her friends. "I'm telling you, there's something wrong with her. She's not normal." "She's just quiet," Mia replied. "No," Tom said. "She's hiding something." That evening, Zara walked home alone. The streets were quiet. Leaves danced along the sidewalk. She stopped at a corner, looking up at the stars. A voice echoed softly in her ear. "Zara, your report is overdue," it said. There was no device on her. The voice came from within. "I'm observing," she whispered. "You are not to engage." "I'm trying not to. But you are growing attached." Zara didn't respond. Her silver eyes flickered once. Then she continued walking, blending into the quiet night like a shadow from another world. Back at school, Leo wrote something in his notebook. It read, "Zara isn't from here. But maybe she's not the threat." In another corner of the galaxy, a signal blinked. It was small, almost nothing, but to the right eyes, it meant one thing. Earth had just caught the Empire's attention. Zara sat quietly in the school library, her fingers moving across the pages of a history book. She wasn't reading it for fun. She was studying the way humans wrote their own past. Battles, inventions, mistakes, and victories were all written down like fragile memories. She found it both strange and beautiful. Her people did not write about their failures. Humans, however, placed theirs in museums. A soft tap broke the silence. Leo had come again. He held a book but didn't open it. He sat across from her, glancing at her face, trying not to stare. "Why do you sit alone?" he asked. "I'm not alone," Zara answered. Her voice was steady, never sharp. He tilted his head. "That's just a sentence," Zara thought for a moment. "I choose quiet because it helps me think." Leo nodded. "Most people avoid quiet. They want noise." "That explains many things," she said softly. Leo smiled. "You talk like someone who watches from far away." Zara said nothing. Her eyes drifted to the window. Beyond the glass, a bird flew across the sky. She followed it with her gaze until it disappeared behind a tree. In truth, Zara had never felt more distant. Her mind held memories of moons with twin suns, towers made of crystal, and training rooms without gravity. She was not from Earth. She was a royal child from a world known as Valar. Her people ruled 12 systems. Their laws were strict. Emotions were considered weaknesses. They valued order, not affection. But Earth was changing her. At night, in the small apartment her guardian rented, she stood by the window and watched the streets below. Cars passed, dogs barked, children laughed. The noise didn't irritate her. It comforted her. There was something chaotic and alive in this world that Valar lacked. Her guardian, a tall figure with pale skin and golden eyes, remained silent most evenings. He was not her family, just a watcher. Assigned by the Empire, he was tasked with keeping her safe and on track. "You are not here to bond," he reminded her. "I know," she replied. "You observe, record, and report." Zara looked out again. "What if there's more to learn? By living among them?" The guardian's eyes narrowed. "Feelings cloud judgment. Perhaps that's why they feel so much," she whispered. At school, Zara noticed more about humans each day. How some students shared their lunch with others. How teachers tried to be kind even when tired. How a janitor with little money smiled at every student. She began to admire something she didn't understand: resilience. Humans got hurt, but they stood up. They were loud, emotional, and often confused, but they kept going. One afternoon, she passed the nurse's office and saw a boy crying. His hand was cut. A teacher held him gently and said, "It's okay to cry." On Valar, tears were punished. Weakness was hidden, not healed. Later that day, Zara sat alone in the art room. She found a sketchpad and drew quietly. She had never drawn before, but her hands moved fast. Shapes appeared: stars, ships, cities. Then, without meaning to, she drew Leo's face. She stared at it. She didn't know why she drew him. Maybe because he looked at her without fear. Maybe because he asked questions instead of making jokes. Or maybe because he reminded her that humans were not just a study. They were people. That evening, she sent her first report. Subject, Earth. Location, Human Educational Institution. Progress. Observing multiple social behaviors. Early conclusion. Humans display unpredictable patterns. Emotional depth observed. System lacks formal control, but inner strength noted. Further study needed. She didn't mention Leo, or the drawing, or the tears she had hidden when she saw the kindness in the nurse's voice. Those details didn't fit the report format. The next morning, a small gift was placed on Zara's desk. It was a bookmark with a galaxy print and tiny stars. Leo had left it there. No words, just the gift. She picked it up and held it gently. When she looked at him later that day, he didn't say anything. But he smiled, and she returned a small nod. The moment was simple, yet it stayed with her. Zara didn't know that in another part of the galaxy, her report had raised alarms. A council of elder voices read her words with concern. "She is observing too much," one said. "She is connecting," said another. "That is not the mission," said the oldest. "She must be reminded." Far from Earth, plans began to shift. Back. On Earth, Zara looked at her own reflection. Her face was calm, but inside, something unfamiliar stirred. Not fear, not confusion. Something else. She had always followed the rules. She had always obeyed. But Earth was changing her. And she wasn't. Sure, she wanted to stop it. Rain fell softly on the school roof. Drops tapped against the windows, creating a quiet rhythm in the classroom. Students sat hunched over their desks, pretending to listen, while the teacher spoke about ancient history. Zara sat in the second row, eyes forward, face calm. But inside, her thoughts were far from the lesson. Something was shifting. She felt it in the way her hands trembled slightly, or how her chest tightened when she saw others in pain. She had never felt this much before. On Valar, emotions were managed like numbers, but here, they came like waves she couldn't control. At lunch, Zara walked to her usual corner table. She carried her food tray carefully, avoiding the crowd. But as she passed a group of students, a foot slid out on purpose. Her foot caught and she stumbled. Her tray crashed to the ground. Food scattered, laughter rose. Tom, the biggest and loudest boy in school, leaned back in his chair. "Oops," he said, pretending to be innocent. Zara stood up slowly. Her hands clenched, but her face stayed blank. She looked at Tom. He looked back with smug satisfaction, surrounded by his group. Leo rushed over. "Are you okay?" he asked, kneeling to pick up what he could. Zara nodded once, but her eyes stayed locked on Tom. For a second, the air around her shimmered. A soft glow lit the edge of her skin, almost invisible. Tom noticed. "What was that?" he said, half joking, but uneasy. Leo stood up quickly. "Leave her alone," he said firmly. Tom turned to him. "Or what? You gonna cry, book boy?" Without warning, he shoved Leo. The smaller boy fell against the wall and slid to the floor. A teacher's voice called from across the room, but it was too late. Zara moved. She crossed the space between them in less than a second. Her hand reached out, not to strike, but to block. She stood between Leo and Tom. Her voice was calm, but cold. "Do not touch him again." Tom blinked. For a moment, fear crept into his expression. Zara's presence had changed. She didn't look scared. She looked dangerous. The teacher arrived, breaking the moment. "What's going on here?" Tom raised his hands. "Nothing, just an accident." Leo wiped a small cut on his arm and nodded. "It's fine," he said, though it wasn't. Zara said nothing. She picked up her tray and walked away, leaving behind more questions than answers. That night, her guardian waited at the door. His face was as cold as always. "You revealed your energy," he said. "It was a warning," Zara replied. "They noticed. The council will respond." "They hurt him," she said, her voice low. "That is not your concern." Her hands curled into fists. "It is now. You are losing focus." "No," she whispered. "I am finding it." Later she sat in the corner of her room. The lights were dim. She stared at her hands. The power within her had always been controlled, but now it stirred more easily. She thought of Leo. He was kind without expecting anything. He didn't ask her to explain herself. He just helped. That small act had shaken something deep inside her. On Valar, kindness was rare. Protection was earned, not given. But Leo had stepped forward without fear. He had stood up against someone. Stronger, not because he could win, but because it was right. Zara had read about courage, but now she understood it, not as a word, but as a force. She walked to the window and looked out. The rain had stopped, and the streetlights reflected in the puddles below. She spoke softly, knowing her words would be heard. "Report to the council," she said. A voice responded in her mind. "Awaiting directive. Tell them the test continues, but the subject has changed." "What does that mean?" Zara didn't answer. She closed her eyes. Images filled her mind. Leo's hand holding hers. The sound of laughter in the hall. The sting of unfairness. These moments were no longer just data. They were real. The next day, she returned to school. Students stared. Whispers followed her through the halls, but she walked with steady steps. Tom avoided her gaze. His jokes were quieter now. During science class, Leo passed her a note. It read, "Thanks." She folded it neatly and kept it. After school, Leo caught up to her outside. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "I wanted to," she replied. He nodded. "That's rare." Zara looked at him. "Maybe that's why it matters." As they stood under the gray sky, a soft wind blew, past. Neither spoke for a moment. The silence between them was no longer awkward. It was full of meaning. Zara knew something was coming. Her people would not wait forever. But something inside her had changed. The mission was still in motion, but her heart had shifted. She wasn't just observing humans anymore. She was starting to become one. The autumn wind danced through the trees, scattering leaves across the quiet neighborhood streets. Zara walked slowly beside Leo, her hood pulled over her head, eyes low. They had left school without saying goodbye to anyone. She didn't want questions today. She just needed time. Time to think, to feel, and maybe to speak. Leo kept glancing at her, unsure of what to say. He had never seen her like this. So quiet, so uncertain. She usually walked like she belonged everywhere, like nothing could touch her. But now, her steps were softer, almost hesitant. "Do you want to come to my place?" Leo asked gently. Zara nodded. They reached his house, a small two-story building with a green door and a cat sleeping on the porch. The smell of baked bread drifted from the kitchen window. Warm light glowed from inside, a clear contrast to the cold air outside. Leo opened the door. "Mom, we're home!" His mother peeked around the corner, wiping her hands on a towel. "Oh, hi, sweetheart. And Zara, right?" Zara gave a small nod. "You're always welcome here," she said warmly. "Shoes off, please. Dinner's in A bit. They stepped inside. The living room was simple but full of life. Pictures covered the wall. Family holidays, birthdays, silly poses. Zara looked at each one with quiet curiosity. On Valar, families didn't display memories. Joy wasn't something to show. It was something to control. Leo led her to the couch. "You okay?" he asked. Zara took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something." He sat beside her, alert. "I'm not from here," she said. Leo blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, not from this planet." She waited for him to laugh, to ask if she was joking. But Leo just sat still. "I believe you," he said. Zara stared at him, surprised. "Why?" "I've been watching too," he said. "You don't walk like us. You don't speak like us. And the light. I saw it." She nodded. "I tried to hide it." Leo leaned forward. "Why are you here?" "To observe. To study humans. My people sent me to decide if Earth should be approached, avoided, or controlled." His face fell. "Controlled?" She looked away. "They fear what they don't understand, and humans are difficult to predict." Leo stood and began pacing. "So you're like a scout?" "Yes. And you're going to report back and let them decide if we're worth saving?" She shook her head. "It's not about saving, it's about preventing danger. To them." Leo stopped walking. "They think we're dangerous? They don't understand feelings. They fear chaos, anger, kindness, love. Emotions make humans strong, but my people see them as a threat." Silence filled the room for a moment. Then, Leo's mom entered with a tray of warm cookies. "Everything okay in here?" she asked, smiling. Zara looked up at her. "You're kind to me, even though I'm strange." "You're not strange. You're just different," she replied, setting the tray down. "And sometimes, different is what we need." Zara's eyes grew misty. No one on her planet had ever spoken to her like that, not even her instructors. After his mother left, Leo returned to the couch. "What happens now?" "I don't know," Zara whispered. "I've seen cruelty here, but I've also seen courage, kindness, and I've felt things I wasn't supposed to feel." Leo looked at her closely. "You've changed. I think I've become more human." They sat in silence again, side by side. The warmth of the room wrapped around them. Zara's fingers brushed the edge of the tray. She picked up a cookie, tasted it, and smiled softly. "This is the first sweet thing I've ever eaten." Leo chuckled. "You've been missing out." Zara laughed too, soft and unsure, but real. Outside, the wind picked up. Far above, beyond, Earth's skies, ships drifted silently. One of them watched. In a distant chamber of the Valerian Council, her most recent report blinked on a screen. The final line read, "They protect what they love. They fight for each other. I have seen something stronger than fear. I have seen hope." One elder frowned. "She's no longer neutral." Another leaned forward. "She is no longer ours, but—" One voice remained silent. The oldest among them stared at the report with a heavy expression. "She has become what we never could," he said quietly. Back in the living room, Zara reached into her bag and pulled out a small crystal sphere. It pulsed with soft blue light. "This is my communicator," she said. "If I speak to it, my report will be sent. And they will come." Leo looked at it, then at her. "What are you going to say?" She held it tightly. "I don't know yet." But, deep inside, she was starting to understand. This wasn't just Earth anymore. It was home. The following morning began like any other. The school bus rumbled down the street. Children laughed and waved as they ran through the gates. but something in the air felt wrong. Zara sensed it before she even stepped off the sidewalk. The sky looked the same. The wind still carried the scent of fresh leaves, but underneath it all, there was a pressure she couldn't explain. Inside the school, whispers passed between students. Some glanced her way, their expressions curious or confused. A few looked afraid. Zara moved through the halls quietly, her eyes scanning each face, her senses alert. At her locker, Leo approached with his backpack slung over one shoulder. "Something's not right," he said softly. Zara nodded. "I feel it too." Before either of them could say more, the intercom crackled. A calm voice spoke. "Students and staff, please remain in your classrooms until further notice. This is a safety measure. Do not leave the building." Teachers looked up, surprised. Students muttered nervously. Zara's heart pounded. She knew this wasn't just a drill. Leo leaned closer. "Is it them?" Zara didn't answer right away. She looked out the window. A dark shape hovered just above the trees in the distance, almost invisible, but not to her eyes. Her breath caught. "They found me," she whispered. In a quiet corner of the sky, a Valerian scout ship shimmered as its cloaking system struggled to hold. It wasn't large, but it was powerful enough to extract a target and leave no trace. "They came to take you?" Leo asked. Zara looked down. Or to silence. Me, outside the shadows moved. A low hum passed through the walls. Lights flickered. Students stared at the ceiling, unsure if they should be scared. Teachers tried to stay calm, but their voices shook as they instructed students to sit quietly. In the hallway, two figures appeared. They weren't wearing school badges or uniforms. Their suits were sleek, their movements too smooth. Their eyes glowed faintly blue. Zara stepped forward, blocking the classroom door. "Stay here," she told Leo. Her voice was low but firm. He grabbed her arm. "You can't face them alone." "I'm not alone," she said. Zara walked out into the hallway. The two alien agents stopped. They looked at her without emotion. "Subject Zara of House Leoren," one of them said. "You are in breach of Directive 3. You have developed attachments. You are no longer neutral." Zara stood tall. "I have not failed. I've learned. You have interfered. I have adapted." The second agent stepped forward. "You are to return now, voluntarily or by force." Behind her, Leo appeared. "She's not going anywhere." The agents turned their heads slightly. "Human interference is not permitted. She's part of this world now," Leo said. The agents raised their hands. A faint glow formed between their fingers. Zara's body reacted instantly. Her skin shimmered with blue light. Energy flowed through her, alive and fierce. "She is not one of you," the first agent said. Zara stepped forward. "But I chose to be." With a sudden pulse of light, she sent a wave of energy forward, knocking the agents back. They hit the lockers with a heavy thud, but quickly rose again. Students screamed as classroom doors burst open. Chaos spread through the hallway. Teachers tried to shield children, while others called for help. Zara moved quickly, shielding the humans behind her. Leo stood at her side, refusing to run. "You need to go," she told him. "I'm not leaving you." The agents advanced again. One threw a strike. Zara blocked it midair, her palm glowing bright. She pushed back with force that cracked the floor beneath them. One of the agents stumbled. The other aimed a beam toward Leo. Zara reacted faster, then thought. She dove between them, absorbing the hit. The hallway shook. Lights burst. Glass shattered. Smoke filled the air. Zara knelt on one knee, breathing hard. Her arms sparked with fading light. She looked up at the agents, her eyes filled with fire. "No more," she said. Then she rose. With a cry that echoed down the halls, she unleashed a wave of energy so strong the walls rattled. The agents fell back, stunned. Their suits flickered. One reached for a communicator, but it melted in his hand. A moment later, both vanished in a flash of light, extracted by emergency recall. Silence followed. Smoke curled from the ceiling. Alarms wailed in the distance. Leo helped Zara to her feet. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though her body trembled. "They'll send more." He looked at her. "Not afraid." "Then we'll be ready." She smiled weakly. "We?" "You're not fighting this alone." Teachers and students stared from the classroom doors. Some still looked frightened. Others were in awe. One teacher stepped forward. "You saved us." Zara looked around at the school she once tried to blend into. Now she stood in the middle of it, changed forever. "They wanted to take me," she said, her voice soft. "But I won't leave. This is my home now." Far above Earth, a signal flashed across the stars. The Valerian Empire had been challenged, and Earth, through one alien girl and a brave human boy, had just declared it would not back down. The school stood in silence the next day. Broken lights still hung from the ceiling. Cracks stretched across the hallway walls like scars. The strange attack was explained as a gas leak and electrical malfunction. No one truly believed it, but they accepted the excuse. Some did it out of fear. Others did it because they didn't know what else to believe. Zara didn't return to class that morning. She stood on the roof instead, staring at the sky. Clouds passed slowly, hiding the stars. Her mind raced with thoughts she couldn't quiet. The Valerian agents had tried to take her. They failed. But she knew the next team wouldn't be so gentle. The council didn't like mistakes. They would not stop now. Earth had become a problem. She had become a problem. Below, Leo arrived at the front gate. He looked tired but determined. When he didn't see her in homeroom, he went searching. He found her where he expected. Above everything, watching. "You okay?" he asked. Zara didn't turn. "No." He stepped beside her. "Same here." They stood together, wind brushing past. Zara finally spoke. "They'll send more. Stronger ones, with orders to end it." Leo looked at her. "Then we need to be ready." "How?" "Earth has no defense for this. They don't even know what's coming." "Then tell them," he said. "Tell the right people." Zara paused. "They won't believe me. Maybe not at first. But if you show them what you can do, they'll listen." That evening, Zara and Leo visited someone Leo trusted. His uncle, a retired military officer, named Marshal Rains. He lived just outside the city, in a small cabin surrounded by trees and old tools. He was a quiet man, with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Rains listened without interruption as Zara told her story. She spoke of her mission, her people, and the danger Earth now faced. She didn't hold back. When she finished, the room was silent. Rains stood slowly. "You're saying aliens are coming, not to visit, but to conquer?" Zara nodded. "Yes." He walked to the window and looked out at the dark forest. "And you're here to stop them?" "I wasn't, but now I am." He turned. "Then you're not alone anymore." That night, Rains made calls. Quiet ones. No official orders. Just trusted people. Scientists, soldiers, engineers. They met in secret. In basements, garages, and empty barns. They listened. They asked questions. Then they started to prepare. Zara helped where she could. She showed them weak spots in Valerian tech. She explained how their weapons worked. She taught them how her people thought. Earth's greatest strength, she said, was not its weapons. It was its unpredictability. Humans didn't follow rules. They adapted, they resisted, and when pushed, they fought with everything they had. Leo worked beside her. He organized files, mapped locations, and kept others focused. Even when tired, he never stopped. One evening, Zara sat beside a fire, watching. Sparks fly into the air. "You miss your world?" Leo asked. She nodded. "Sometimes." "But not enough to go back?" She looked at him. "Not anymore." He smiled. "Good." Soon, people started to talk. Stories spread. About a strange girl who could move like light. About a boy who stood up to aliens. About a growing group that believed something big was coming. Governments started watching. Not all believed, but some paid attention. Old radio signals picked up strange messages from space. Weather balloons caught glimpses of flickering shadows above the clouds. Something was changing, and people could feel it. Then one night, the sky cracked open. A beam of light shot down from the stars. It hit an empty field near the school. Grass burned, soil melted. And in the center of the blast, a symbol appeared. Valerian script, glowing, read a warning. The council had sent a message: surrender Zara or face destruction. Crowds gathered the next day. News stations filled the area. Military trucks arrived. Scientists scanned the field. No one knew what to do. Zara watched it all from a hill nearby. Her heart beat fast, but her eyes stayed calm. "They've made their move," she said. Leo stood beside her. "Then it's our turn." Behind them, people were already setting up equipment. Lights blinked. Screens flashed. Old barns had become command centers. Citizens volunteered. Some brought tools. Others brought food. All brought hope. For the first time, humans weren't waiting to be saved. They were preparing to fight. Zara looked at the field one last time. The red glow still burned. But she no longer felt fear. She felt purpose. She turned to Leo. "This planet has chosen to resist." He nodded. "And you're leading the charge." "No," she said, placing a hand over her chest. "I'm just part of it now." Dawn broke over the town with a golden light. Birds sang in the distance, unaware of the storm waiting in the sky. The air was still, yet every person on the ground could feel something was coming. They didn't know when, but they knew it would be soon. Zara stood on a hill overlooking the field where the Valerian warning had burned into the earth. She wore a jacket given to her by Leo's mother, and boots scuffed from days of travel. She no longer looked like a visitor. She looked like someone who belonged here. Around her, people worked together. Engineers wired strange devices made from human tools and Valerian scraps. Farmers helped set up barriers. Students handed out water and supplies. Even those who didn't understand the full story still gave what they could. They believed in her. They believed in Earth. Leo joined her, carrying a small tablet. "We've picked up movement. They're coming." "How many?" she asked. "Too many." Zara didn't blink. "Then we won't make this easy." High above, clouds thickened. Hidden behind them, the Valerian fleet prepared to descend. Sleek ships, silent and fast, hovered like shadows ready to strike. Each one was armed, each one controlled by logic, and fear of what they could not control: humanity. Inside a small tent near the base of the hill, leaders from several countries gathered. No flags, no arguments, only plans. Zara entered the tent quietly, but all eyes turned to her. "You're sure they won't talk?" asked one general. "They never negotiate," she said. "They act, and they erase what they can't understand." The room fell silent. Then a scientist raised her hand. "What are we to them?" "Danger," Zara replied. "Because you feel. Because you fight for each other." The general nodded. "Then we fight back." As the sun rose higher, the clouds above twisted into strange shapes. The first Valerian ship broke through, hovering low. Its surface shimmered with energy. Then another ship appeared. Then 5 more. Within minutes, the sky filled with their cold, silent power. The people on the ground didn't run. They held their ground, some with tools, others with nothing but courage. Zara stepped forward. Her voice was calm. Let them see what Earth is made of. Suddenly, the first beam fired, silent, bright, and fast. It hit a barrier powered by a mix of Valerian energy and human electricity. The shield held for a few seconds before cracking. Sparks flew. The ground shook, but the humans didn't break. Zara raised her hand. Light formed at her fingertips, brighter than before. Her energy had grown, not from training, but from feeling, from caring. She sent a wave into the air, striking the lead ship. It shook and turned back. The Valerian fleet opened fire. Beams of light rained down. Explosions rocked the field. Dust and smoke filled the sky. Still, the humans fought back, not with equal force, but with clever ideas. They used mirrors to blind sensors, sound waves to confuse the enemy, and Zara's knowledge to stay one step ahead. Leo directed groups from the ground. He helped lead people to safety and gave orders without fear. His voice became the thread holding many together. Zara flew higher, pushing back against the strongest ship. Her energy wrapped around her like armor. She took damage, but never stopped. Each strike she gave was not just power, it was defiance. The Valerians didn't expect resistance. They expected surrender. But this planet had changed, and so had she. One ship crashed, flames trailing behind it. Another fell after being struck by one of Zara's focused blasts. Still, more came. But the humans never backed down. In the chaos, a direct message flashed across Zara's mind. It was the High Council. Return now, or Earth will be cleansed, Zara responded, her voice steady. This world is not yours, and I am no longer yours. She sent one final surge of energy, so strong it lit up the sky. The largest ship cracked, then burst apart in a silent explosion. The others began to retreat, slowly, one by one. They disappeared into the clouds. The ground grew still again. Smoke curled into the sky, but the people remained standing. Cheers began to rise. Soft at first, then louder. Not because the war was over, but because they had survived the first battle and won. Zara floated down to the hill. Her body trembled with exhaustion, but her eyes were bright. Leo ran to her and held her close. She didn't pull away. You did it, he said. We did it, she answered. People gathered around. Some reached out to touch her hand. Others just smiled. Later that night, under a quiet sky, Zara stood in the backyard of Leo's home. The stars above looked different now. Not distant, but familiar. Leo joined her, holding 2 mugs of hot tea. Do you think they'll come again? He asked. Yes, she said. But next time we'll be ready. He handed her the mug. To Earth. Zara smiled and lifted her cup. To Earth. My home.